My beloved child. Don't skip. There is something about the person connected to your heart that you need to hear, because what they want from you is not what you may be imagining. They are not searching for perfection. They are not waiting for you to become someone else. And they are not measuring you by everything that happened before this moment. What they want is something much deeper, something they have struggled to put into words, and when you finally understand it, you may see this entire connection differently. Stay till the end, because the one thing they need from you will be revealed, and the truth behind it carries more emotion than you realize. Something huge is waiting for you. There has been a quiet change happening inside this person. From the outside, perhaps nothing seems dramatically different. They may still move through their ordinary routine. They may still laugh with people, answer questions, handle responsibilities, and pretend everything inside them is perfectly calm. But when the noise disappears, their thoughts keep returning to one place. You. Not merely the memory of you. Not merely something you once said. They are thinking about what it would actually mean to build a future with you. And that thought has become more serious than they expected. There was a time when they could push these feelings aside. They could tell themselves that tomorrow would bring clarity. They could distract themselves with responsibilities, conversations, entertainment, work, or anything that kept their heart occupied. But something has changed. The distractions no longer work the way they used to. Because every time they imagine the future, something strange happens. They see you somewhere inside it. And this is where the story becomes important. Don't skip. Because they recently asked themselves a question they had been avoiding for a very long time. What if this person is actually the one I want beside me when everything else changes? That question stayed with them. They tried to dismiss it. They couldn't. They tried to convince themselves they were simply being emotional. That didn't work either. Then they began imagining ordinary moments. Not dramatic moments. Ordinary ones. Morning conversations. Quiet evenings. Celebrations. Difficult days when one person needs the other. Laughing about something nobody else would understand. Sitting together without needing to fill every second with words. Making plans. Changing plans. Growing older. Building traditions. Creating memories. And suddenly they understood something that surprised them. They weren't imagining a temporary chapter. They were imagining forever. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Because wanting forever is only the beginning of what they discovered. There is one thing standing between what they feel and what they are ready to express. One thing they need from you. And strangely, it is not something money can provide. It cannot be bought. It cannot be forced. It cannot be demanded. And it cannot be replaced by beautiful promises. Before I tell you what it is, you need to understand why it matters so deeply to them. This person has carried fears they rarely discuss. Perhaps they learned somewhere along the journey that giving someone your entire heart can feel frightening. Perhaps they watched relationships change unexpectedly. Perhaps someone once promised permanence and delivered uncertainty. Perhaps life simply taught them to protect themselves. Whatever shaped them, they developed an instinct. When something becomes important, part of them wants to move closer. Another part wants to protect itself. That is why their behavior may sometimes seem confusing. One moment, their heart says, "Go toward this." The next moment, fear whispers, "What if you lose it?" One moment they imagine telling you everything. The next moment they wonder whether silence is safer. But something happened recently that made silence harder. They realized that losing the possibility of you might hurt more than risking honesty. Think about that. For perhaps the first time, their fear of never knowing what the two of you could become is becoming stronger than their fear of opening their heart. That is a powerful turning point. Don't skip now. Because this is where their private thoughts become even more revealing. There was a moment when they imagined you walking forward without them. Not because you stopped caring. Not because something terrible happened. Simply because life continued. They imagined you becoming stronger. Happier. More confident. More certain about what you deserve. And then they imagined someone else recognizing everything in you that they had been too afraid to acknowledge. That thought affected them deeply. Because suddenly they understood something. You would not remain standing in the same emotional doorway forever. Life moves. People grow. Opportunities appear. Hearts eventually make decisions. And they knew that if they continued waiting for the perfect moment, they could eventually watch the moment disappear. That realization changed their thinking. They stopped asking, "What if this doesn't work?" And started asking, "What if I never try?" Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The person connected to your heart has been thinking beyond attraction. Beyond excitement. Beyond butterflies. They have been thinking about partnership. And partnership requires something completely different. They imagine knowing that when life becomes complicated, the two of you do not immediately turn against each other. They imagine disagreements that end with understanding rather than distance. They imagine honesty without humiliation. They imagine being able to say, "This hurt me," without being afraid the conversation will destroy everything. They imagine being able to admit, "I was wrong." They imagine hearing you say the same. They imagine both of you choosing the relationship even when the day itself isn't romantic or perfect. Because forever isn't made entirely from extraordinary moments. Forever is built in ordinary choices. It is built when two people keep showing up. It is built when someone listens instead of assuming. It is built when pride becomes less important than understanding. It is built when affection becomes friendship, and friendship becomes trust. And this person is beginning to understand that. There is something they want to tell you. If they could sit directly across from you with nothing distracting either of you, their heart might say something like this. "I don't need you to promise me that every day will be perfect. I don't expect that. I don't need you to know every answer. I don't know every answer either. I just want to know that when something becomes difficult, we won't immediately become strangers." And there it is. A clue. But not yet the full answer. Don't skip. The most important part is still ahead. They want forever with you, but forever frightens them for one specific reason. Forever requires vulnerability. And vulnerability means handing someone access to the parts of yourself that the world rarely sees. The insecure parts. The uncertain parts. The dreams that feel almost embarrassing to say aloud. The fears you hide behind jokes. The memories you pretend no longer matter. The hope you protect because disappointment once taught you to be careful. This person wonders whether they can show you all of that. And they wonder something else. Can you show them yours? Not the polished version. Not the version designed to impress anyone. You. The real you. Because something about your authenticity is what drew them toward you in the first place. Perhaps it was the way you cared without announcing it. Perhaps it was your patience. Perhaps your humor. Perhaps your strength. Perhaps the way you kept moving forward after disappointment. Perhaps it was simply the feeling that when they were around you, they didn't need to perform. Whatever it was, they noticed. And they remembered. More than you probably realize. Stay till the end. Because something huge is waiting for you. There are little things about you living inside their memory. A sentence you may have forgotten. A look on your face. A moment when you were kind without expecting recognition. A conversation that lasted longer than either of you planned. Something you laughed about. Something serious you shared. Something about the way you listened. And those small memories have become strangely important. Why? Because when someone begins imagining forever, the mind doesn't always return to dramatic moments. It returns to the moments that felt safe. That word matters. Safe. Emotionally safe. Not perfect. Not constantly exciting. Safe enough to be truthful. Safe enough to laugh. Safe enough to be quiet. Safe enough to say, I don't know. Safe enough to say, I need you. Safe enough to say, I need some time to understand what I'm feeling. Safe enough to return to the conversation afterward. And now you are getting closer to the answer. The one thing they need from you is connected to this feeling. But there is another layer. They have been questioning whether you still believe in this connection. They cannot always read your silence. They cannot always interpret your distance. They don't know whether your strength means you have moved forward emotionally or whether you are simply protecting yourself. Sometimes they wonder whether they waited too long. That thought has become uncomfortable. Because they know they cannot ask you to wait forever while they figure themselves out. They know love cannot survive entirely inside someone's imagination. Eventually, something must become real. A conversation. An acknowledgement. An honest moment. A decision. And they are moving closer to understanding that. Don't skip now. Because the question they secretly wish they could ask you is surprisingly simple. It isn't. Do you think I'm perfect? It isn't. Will you give me everything I want? It isn't. Will you change yourself for me? Their question is closer to this. If I finally show you the truth of what I feel, will you meet me there honestly? That is what keeps circling their mind. Honesty. But even that is not the complete answer. Because honesty without something else can still leave two people uncertain. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Imagine this person alone for a moment, thinking about everything that brought the two of you here. Every misunderstanding. Every missed opportunity. Every moment when someone almost said more but stopped. Every assumption. Every unanswered question. Every time pride whispered, wait for them to speak first. Every time fear said, don't reveal too much. And suddenly they realize how easily two people who care about each other can become trapped behind silence. Neither wants to be rejected, so neither speaks. Neither wants to appear vulnerable, so both pretend to be stronger than they feel. Neither wants to chase, so both wait. Then days become weeks. Weeks become months. And something meaningful becomes buried beneath unanswered questions. They don't want that anymore. Something inside them has become tired of guessing. They would rather know the truth, even if the truth requires courage. And here is where their desire for forever becomes real. They are not simply dreaming about having you. They are thinking about choosing you. There is a difference. Wanting someone is emotional. Choosing someone is intentional. Wanting says, "You make me feel something." Choosing says, "I am willing to participate in building something." Wanting can happen in a moment. Choosing happens repeatedly. And your person is beginning to understand that forever is not one enormous promise made once. Forever is thousands of smaller decisions. Choosing communication. Choosing patience. Choosing respect. Choosing loyalty. Choosing laughter. Choosing forgiveness when forgiveness is healthy and deserved. Choosing honesty. Choosing growth. Choosing each other without losing yourselves. That is the kind of forever they are imagining. Don't skip. The answer is getting closer. There is one thing they need from you before they can completely believe in that future. Not proof that you will never make a mistake. Not proof that life will never change. Nobody can promise those things. They need something much more human. They need to know that they will not be the only person fighting for the connection. That is the fear underneath everything. They are afraid of opening their entire heart only to discover they are standing there alone. They don't need you to chase them. They don't need you to beg. They don't need dramatic gestures. They need reciprocity. They need to feel that when they move toward you sincerely, you will not punish them for being vulnerable. They need to know that if they speak honestly, you will respond honestly. They need to know that the future is something the two of you would build together. But there is still one word underneath even reciprocity. One word that defines what they truly need. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Before that word is revealed, understand this. They may have spent a long time thinking that love itself would be enough. But mature love teaches something different. Feelings can begin a connection. Trust sustains it. Chemistry can create excitement. Trust creates peace. Words can create hope. Trust allows hope to become something stable. And now we are standing at the center of the message. The one thing your soulmate needs from you is trust. Not blind trust. Not trust that ignores reality. Not trust that asks you to abandon your judgment. Real trust. The kind that grows through consistent actions. The kind that allows two people to speak honestly without constantly preparing for abandonment. The kind that says, "I will listen before I assume." The kind that says, "I will tell you what I actually feel instead of expecting you to read my mind." The kind that says, "If something bothers us, we can talk about it." That is what they need. Trust. And perhaps the most beautiful part is that they know they must earn yours too. This is not a demand placed entirely upon you. They are beginning to realize that if they want you to trust them, their behavior must become trustworthy. Their words and actions must begin matching. Their intentions must become clearer. Their communication must become more consistent. They cannot ask you for emotional security while giving you constant uncertainty. That realization may be one of the biggest changes happening inside them. Don't skip. Because there is one final layer to this. They are not only asking themselves whether you can trust them. They are asking whether they can become the person worthy of that trust. And that question is changing them. It is making them examine how they communicate. How they respond when afraid. How they handle misunderstandings. How often they hide behind silence. How often they expect people to understand things they have never actually explained. They are seeing themselves more clearly. And sometimes growth begins exactly there. Not with perfection. With awareness. They want forever with you. But they no longer want a forever built from guessing games. They want something solid. Something honest. Something peaceful enough that both hearts can breathe. Something where love doesn't constantly need to prove itself through dramatic moments. Something where two people simply know. We are on the same side. Imagine how different a relationship becomes when both people truly believe that. A disagreement is no longer automatically a threat. Silence is not automatically rejection. A difficult day is not automatically the end. One person can say, "I need reassurance," without shame. The other can say, "I need space to think, but I am not leaving." That is emotional maturity. That is what they are beginning to crave. And strangely, they may not have had the vocabulary for it before. They may have simply thought, "I want to feel secure with this person." Now they are understanding what creates security. Trust. Consistency. Communication. Mutual effort. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Because their heart has one more confession. If they could remove every layer of pride and fear, they might tell you, "I don't want to keep wondering what we could have been. I want to find out what we can become. I don't expect you to forget everything that made you cautious. I don't expect you to hand me your trust instantly. I want the opportunity to build it with you." Read that feeling carefully. Build it. Not demand it. Trust isn't a switch. It is a bridge. And bridges are built piece by piece. One truthful conversation. One kept promise. One moment of listening. One moment of understanding. One apology that leads to changed behavior. One decision to stay emotionally present instead of disappearing behind pride. Piece by piece. Until one day two people realize they are no longer standing on opposite sides. They have met somewhere in the middle. That is the forever this person wants. Not a fairy tale where nothing ever goes wrong. A partnership strong enough to handle reality. And there is something deeply meaningful about that. Because perhaps they once believed forever meant finding the perfect person. Now they are learning that forever may actually mean finding someone with whom both people are willing to keep growing. Someone who can say, "I see your imperfections, and I will not use them against you." Someone who can also say, "I see my own imperfections, and I am willing to work on them." That is stronger than fantasy. That is partnership. Stay till the end. There is still something they hope you understand. They do not want you to become smaller to make them comfortable. They do not want you to abandon your dreams. They do not want you to lose your identity inside the relationship. They are beginning to imagine something healthier. Two complete people choosing to walk beside each other. Encouraging each other's growth. Celebrating each other's progress. Being present when life becomes uncertain. Giving each other enough freedom to remain authentic while still protecting what they are building together. That is why trust matters so much. Without trust, freedom feels threatening. With trust, freedom becomes beautiful. Without trust, silence creates stories. With trust, silence can simply mean someone is tired. Without trust, distance immediately creates fear. With trust, two people understand that connection doesn't disappear simply because life becomes busy. And perhaps this is exactly what your person has been trying to understand. Don't skip. Something huge is waiting for you. They have imagined a future conversation. A quiet one. Maybe late in the evening. Maybe somewhere private where neither of you has to rush. No audience. No performance. Just truth. And in that imagined conversation, they finally tell you what they have been holding back. They tell you that their feelings became deeper than they intended. They tell you they tried to be rational. They tell you they tried to wait. They tell you there were moments when fear made them hesitate. And then they say, "But every version of my future that feels like home somehow has you in it." That is the emotional truth underneath this entire story. You represent more than romance in their imagination. You represent belonging. And belonging is powerful. But belonging cannot survive without trust. That is why they need it. And that is why they know they must give it too. This isn't about you proving yourself endlessly. It is about two people gradually creating enough emotional safety to stop performing and start being real. Perhaps that is what forever actually needs. Not perfection. Participation. Not mind reading. Communication. Not control. Trust. Not endless promises about tomorrow. Consistent actions today. Stay till the end. Because there is one last message hidden inside everything they have been feeling. Your soulmate does not simply want you to say, "I trust you." They want to create a relationship where you naturally can. That distinction changes everything. Words can be spoken quickly. Trust is demonstrated slowly. They know that. And somewhere inside themselves, they are preparing for a choice. Continue hiding behind uncertainty. Or step forward honestly. Continue wondering. Or communicate. Continue protecting their heart so completely that nobody can reach it. Or finally allow someone meaningful to see what is inside. And every day, they are moving closer to the second choice. You. But remember this carefully. A healthy connection is never built by one person carrying everything. If this story ever becomes real in your own life, watch actions as much as words. Let trust be mutual. Let communication be mutual. Let effort be mutual. Let respect be mutual. Because the strongest forever is not created when one person loses themselves trying to hold another. It is created when two people willingly meet. And that is exactly what this person is beginning to understand. Don't skip now. Because the final thought is the one that may stay with you. Maybe forever doesn't begin with someone saying, "I promise I will never leave." Maybe it begins with something quieter. "I am here." Then tomorrow. "I am still here." Then after a misunderstanding. "Let's talk." Then during uncertainty. "We will figure this out together." Then after growth. "I'm proud of who you're becoming." And slowly, ordinary moments become a life. That is what they are imagining. 1,000 ordinary moments with you. Not simply one spectacular declaration. They want the mornings. The conversations. The laughter. The ridiculous little jokes. The peaceful silences. The plans. The unexpected changes. The victories. The lessons. The moments when both of you look back and realize how far you have come. They want something that lasts because both people keep choosing to care for it. And the one thing they need most from you is trust, the same trust they must be willing to earn and return. So if you have been wondering what lies underneath their hesitation, perhaps it is not absence of feeling. Perhaps the feelings became serious enough to make them think differently. Because temporary attraction asks, "How do I feel right now?" Forever asks, "Can we build something real?" And their heart has started asking the second question. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Because this isn't the end of what they have been realizing. There is another thought they have not yet spoken aloud. A decision connected to this future. Something they have been considering quietly. Something that could explain why their energy has changed. And once you understand what that decision is, the pieces may finally come together. For now, remember the truth revealed here. They don't need perfection from you. They need honesty. They need mutual effort. They need emotional safety. And above all, they need trust. But they are also realizing that trust cannot simply be requested. It must be earned, protected, returned, and strengthened through time. That realization is changing the way they imagine forever. Because now forever is no longer just a beautiful idea inside their mind. It is becoming a question they may eventually have to answer with action. Don't skip what comes next. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Because the next part begins with the decision they have been quietly preparing to make, and the reason they have not told you yet.